been putting off this video for a good week or so, but I think it's finally time to sit down and talk about all the garments that I knit in 2025. Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, my name is Addie and I am the host of the Knits by AJ Knitting podcast. But like I said, today I'm going to be filming my All the Garments I Knit in 2025 video. So I did this last year for all the garments that I knit in 2024, and I thought I'd bring it back again and do it for 2025. I feel like I'm very late filming this. I feel like everybody else has already got their like 2025 wrap-up videos out. But I suppose better late than never. I do have much less than I had in 2024. So in 2024, I finished 22 garments, and in 2025, I have only finished 15, which feels like a much more like manageable number. For full transparency, not all of these garments are for me. I also knit for my daughter and my husband. Not that there's anything for my husband in this wrap-up video, but I have also knit a couple of garments as like gift knits this year for like colleagues of my husband who have gone on to have babies. I knit them as little gifts for them as like leaving for maternity leave presents. And yeah, so not all of them are for me, but to be honest, most of them are. So there's that. I definitely was a lot more intentional in 2025 on what I wanted to knit and like making sure that I was knitting things that filled gaps in my wardrobe and that I knew that I was going to wear a lot. And I definitely took a lot more time to really think about how much wear and use I was going to get out of projects. And I frogged quite a few as well. So that's always quite nice to know that I've actually made like intentional choices and not just cast on for the sake of casting on and then let the garment linger in my wardrobe unworn. So yeah, without further waffle, let's get into it. I have grouped these by month in which I finished them. So they're kind of in chronological order, but not chronological order of when I cast on, but of when I cast them off. So yeah, I guess let's get started. So we'll start off with January. I only finished one garment in January, and it was this self-drafted cabled cardigan. I'm not going to go into too much detail of like the knitting process of all of these. You will be able to see that if you go back and watch some previous episodes of the podcast from last year. And I will also have all of the like Ravelry notes and everything linked down below, where I have project pages for these garments. So yeah. First one for January was, like I say, this self-drafted cabled cardigan. I knit this up out of Gapard Woolia, and it's based on a jumper. I think I have a picture of it here that I knit a good few years ago, and I wear this jumper to absolute death. And so I wanted to try and write up a pattern for it, but I wanted a cardigan version. And I don't feel like this hit the mark. I wore this a couple of times at the beginning of 2025, and then I just didn't wear it because I don't feel like it is a good dupe for that jumper that I have. So the jumper that I knit was out of Filcolana Peruvian Highland wool, and I love it. I really do. I wear it literally every single day. It's the first thing I put on in the morning when it's too cold to just wear my pajamas, and I chuck it on just constantly. It's like the easiest thing for me to just throw on, and I absolutely love it. But yeah, this cardigan just didn't hit the same spot as that jumper, and I think it's all to do with the ease. There's just not as much positive ease in this cardigan as there is in the jumper, and so I do think I want to frog this. I did have every intention of writing up a pattern and actually releasing it, but because this wasn't like hitting the mark for me and I wasn't sure where the problem... Sorry, my dog is in the room with me. Actually, both of them are in the room with me today, and he's just dropping his toy on the floor and making me jump. But yeah, because this wasn't like hitting the mark for me, I didn't feel confident in the idea of releasing it as a pattern. Can you stop throwing that around, please, sir? So yeah, this was a bit of a fail. I am going to frog this and reknit it. I think I know where the problem is now, and I think I know how to solve it. So yeah, this was a bit of a flop, but it's not unsalvageable. So hopefully this will be something that I can get around to revisiting in 2026. So that is garment number 1. I will try all of these on as well and get a bit of footage, which hopefully I'm now showing over here. So you can kind of see what they look like on, at least for the ones that I've knit for myself anyway. You can kind of see how much of a kind of languishing garment this has been, in the fact that some of the buttons have fallen off and I haven't sewn them back on. It's actually sat over here on my desk waiting for me to sew it back on, but actually I think I'm just going to cut them all off and frog the project and reknit it. So yeah, there's that. Not a great start, but you knit and learn, really, don't you? So now going into February, the first thing that I finished in February was actually a garment for my daughter. So this is the Effervescent Mini Pullover, and it's a pattern by AIMEE SHER. I knit up age 5, and I used woolly knit super soft merino in 4-ply in the colour rose, which I don't think you can get anymore. You used to be able to get it in bags of like 10 skeins, and they're like 50-gram balls, straight from the Woolly Knit website, but I don't think that they do it anymore. I was definitely finding it hard to find it to link to online when I was knitting this. I had bought it, I think, the year before, because I also used this yarn to knit up a festival dress for my daughter, which she still wears quite a lot actually. But that was back in 2024, I think that was in that wrap-up video, which I will have linked down below if you wanted to see everything that I knit in 2024 as well, if you haven't already seen it. But yeah, it's a lace yoke bottom-up pullover, and I used Filcolana Tilia for the ruffle, and I just didn't make this long enough. It's already too small for my daughter. She is going to be 6 in April. One of my neighbours is looking out the window and I feel like they can see me filming. Oh, that's really awkward. What was I even saying? Yeah, so my daughter's going to be 6 in April, and this is just too short for her. We also have a problem in the fact that because it's bottom up and you do a tubular cast off for the neckband as like the last thing that you do, this just isn't quite stretchy enough to go over her head comfortably. It definitely like pulls a bit, which has maybe put her off wearing it. But yeah, it's a really beautiful garment. I think it's a really lovely design, and I did have good fun knitting it. I think I just needed to choose the next size up and make sure that my bind off was a lot stretchier, or maybe even alter the neckline so that I was doing like a double folded neckband, because I always find that those end up being a lot stretchier than when I have to do a tubular bind off at the neckband. So yeah, that's something that I maybe need to take into account when I make things for her in the future, to definitely make sure that I have a lot of growing room knitted in for her. But yeah, I would definitely knit this again. It was a lovely little garment for her to wear for a couple of months. Just need to make it a little bit bigger. So that was number 2. Garment number 3 is another one for myself, and this is the Irene Slipover by Journey Through Yarn. I knit up size 1 in this, and I used a mystery 4-ply that I bought from No Frills Knitting back quite a while ago now, to be honest. But it was sold as like a mystery yarn, but I was told that it was a natural fibre, and I held it double to knit this slipover. So I love this. I wore this a lot when it was a bit warmer back in the spring. I also wore it in the summer as just like a regular tank top when it wasn't roasting outside, and I do really like this. It's a really nice like textured slipover with 1x1 rib on the arms and the bottom of the body and the neckband, and it's got a nice like chunky folded neckband, which is what I love. And yeah, it's got these wonderful little like dip stitch motifs on, which were great fun to knit, although I did find them a little bit challenging in this yarn because it was a little bit harsh on my hands, but nevertheless, I think it's worked out really, really well. The only thing that I wish that I maybe had done differently with this Slipover is that I wish that I had knitted it in a different colour, because I don't wear a lot of black. So I don't know, maybe I would have got a little bit more wear out of it if I had knitted it in a different colour. But I can always knit it again in a different colour. It was a really fun knit, it was really engaging. The dip stitches made it really nice and kind of interesting to knit because I've not done a lot of those. And yeah, I definitely recommend it. There's also a jumper version which I'm quite interested in maybe looking at for the cooler months at the end of the year, because I do think I would get a lot more wear out of it, especially when it is a bit colder. I always struggle with wearing slipovers. I feel like there's a very limited amount of time where I'm warm enough to be able to wear them. So yeah, maybe I would get a bit more wear out of the jumper, but I do really love that Slipover. So now we are heading into March, and I only finished one thing in March, and that is my Astrid sweater. So this one was also a bit hit and miss. So I remember not enjoying the knitting process of this. So this Astrid sweater is a pattern by Pernille Larsen, who is the designer behind the patterns for Knitting for Olive. And I knit up size 1 in this, and I used Noro Silk Garden Solo in the colour 33. Now, my enjoyment in knitting this has got nothing to do with the pattern. The pattern was absolutely wonderful. I would definitely knit the pattern again. It was really great. It's a bottom up construction with a lot of short rows in the bottom to create this curved dipped hem. And then after that, it's a pretty simple stockinette drop shoulder. And yeah, it was a really lovely pattern to knit up. I would definitely knit it again. I would probably maybe add a little bit more length in the body because I do have a long torso, and I maybe should have thought about that as I was knitting this one. But I do still get quite a lot of wear out of this. My lack of enjoyment in knitting this came solely from the yarn. I would not use this yarn again. It was not that fun to knit with. It broke a lot. It's very thick and thin, which you can't really see in the actual like finished fabric. But when you're knitting it, you really do notice how thick and thin it is. And the bits that are thicker, where it's not spun very tightly, they do tend to break. And so especially when I was doing things like the ribbed neckband, or if I was doing a bind off, the yarn would just fall apart and it just break, which is really irritating. And so I had a lot of ends to sew in, and I had a lot of like tinking back to make sure that I had enough yarn to sew in an end, because this was not a yarn that I could wet splice back together. And sorry if you can hear Biggs chewing on his toy behind us. At least he's doing that and not trying to destroy the room. But yeah, it wasn't particularly enjoyable to knit with. It was also quite hard on my hands because it's got quite a high silk content. And yeah, it was just not, I didn't have a great experience knitting with it. I know lots of people do have a great experience knitting with this, so it was personally just not great for me. I also think because this has got quite a high mohair content, I just don't reach for it very often, because if I warm up, it suddenly becomes quite itchy. So yeah, maybe it was just not the best yarn choice for me. But I would definitely reknit the pattern. It was a really lovely pattern to knit, and I definitely recommend it if you're looking for a drop shoulder jumper with a little bit of interest at the hem. So yeah, that was my Astrid sweater. And then moving into April, I again only finished one garment, and that was my Wave sweater by SPEKTAKELSTRIK. Now this one has been a real like staple in my wardrobe, especially as we moved into the colder months. Maybe not at first when I finished it in April, because I feel like May was quite warm. So I maybe didn't get as much wear out of it when I first finished it, but I've definitely worn it a lot in the winter and autumn. And the Wave sweater is a all over colourwork raglan sweater knit up at like an Aran gauge. And I used full Kalana Peruvian Highland wool in the colours Ballerina and Time. And I knit up size 1, but I heavily modified mine. And I even did a full project vlog on it if you want to go and watch that. but I modified mine from being a drop shoulder into, from being a raglan into a drop shoulder. And I really, really love this thing. So here it is. I love my color choices. I think they are just so versatile in my wardrobe. I have a lot of pink and green. I've really kind of lent into my love of pink and green and my love of pink and green together. So yeah, I have a lot of pink and green, and this obviously goes with quite a lot of the other things in my wardrobe that are also pink and green. But yeah, I really love the motif. I tried my best to make sure that everything kind of lined up really well, which meant that I had to do a bit of jiggery pokery with where I started in the charts. But yeah, I really, really love this thing. It is pilling a fair bit on the body and also on the bottom half of the sleeves, but nothing that a quick run over with my D-pillar won't fix. It's actually holding up relatively well for the amount that I've worn it. I have found that Peruvian Highland wool is relatively good for not pilling too much. The other thing, like the other big garment that I've used Peruvian Highland wool for is my like big cabled jumper. And I think I've had that for like maybe 3-4 years now, and I've de-pilled it twice. And it still looks relatively kind of clean and fresh after a lot of wear. And so this one is pilling a little bit more than that. I think that's just the nature of the fact that this is like a predominantly stockinette fabric. But yeah, it's actually holding up really well for the amount of wear that it gets. And I think the one thing that I would maybe have changed was I would have made the sleeves ever so slightly shorter, because they are pretty long. But I absolutely love this jumper. It's a real like lovely layer to have in my wardrobe. It's very, very warm because it is, well, I used worsted weight yarn, but it is like double layer because of the amount of floats in there. The floats in this are really fun. I really love looking at the inside as well as the outside. So, oh, can I do this without having to turn the whole thing inside out? Yeah, so that's what the inside looks like. I vaguely remember kind of finding that the pattern was very sort of minimal in its instructions. It was basically just start at this point in the chart and knit until however long, or something along those lines. I don't know. I'm trying to remember back in April now, and we're already in January of the following year. So yeah, I remember it being quite a bare bones pattern, so maybe not for beginner knitters, but I just love the finished result. This neckline, I remember taking a long time trying to figure out how to make it deep enough and everything, but it really did scratch an itch that I had for kind of completely taking a pattern apart and reworking it. And yeah, I think this just gets a lot more wear in my wardrobe as a drop shoulder than as a raglan, because although I am currently wearing a raglan, I just really love a drop shoulder. They are my absolute favourite thing to wear. So that was my wave sweater. And next up into May, we have another one of my favourite knits. So this is the Charlie Pullover by MORECA Knit. I knit up size 1 in this again, and I used BC Garn Samilla Melange in the colours Vanilla and Apple. And this is where my love of knitted garments with collars kind of started. I wear this, I'd say at least once a week. I absolutely love this. So this is a sport weight saddle shoulder. It's like a saddle shoulder, but also like a contiguous construction, with like an almost set-in sleeve, and it just fits so well. And the yarn is just so soft. It's a non-superwash. I can't remember if it's a merino, but it's a non-superwash, and it's just really soft. It's just absolutely beautiful. I definitely use it again. And it's quite kind of like airy and lofty. And yeah, I just really like this jumper. It's got really like long ribbing on the sleeves and the bottom of the body. I do kind of wish that I had made it slightly longer. And I think I do have some of this yarn left over. I might go back in and make it just a little bit longer, just so that I can get a little bit more wear out of it, because I do like to sometimes wear this with leggings and it just sits just that little bit too high. But yeah, it's definitely something that I get a lot of wear out of and will continue to do so. It's just a little bit too cool to wear it at the moment. I think I need the weather to warm up a bit. But yeah, I really love the color combination. It's kind of like a very sort of creamy white, definitely a vanilla, and then the apple green is just a really, really lovely contrast with that white. It's just such an easy thing to chuck on. It goes with everything. And I really like that the placket, this was why I chose this pattern, because the placket like crosses over. So you don't have a gap here and there's no gaping or anything. And it kind of just holds the collar together so that it doesn't like sort of really droop open, because I have quite sort of narrow shoulders. So I don't like a lot, like, so I don't like a really wide neckline. And this is just really easy to wear with pretty much everything in my wardrobe. So yeah, I remember the collar took absolutely forever because it's all in double knit. So it's got quite a lot of structure up there. But yeah, it's got loads of drape. It's a really lovely knit. It's got a nice amount of positive ease and everything. And yeah, I just love this thing. I'm really glad that I chose this pattern because it has become a real staple. It's really easy to just have it as like an extra layer to chuck on, especially when we were in the like the transition from summer into autumn, because it was really warm for a while in autumn and then it got very cold very quickly. But in that warm bit, it suddenly would get very chilly in the evening. So it was nice to have that to just chuck on like with shorts or whatever and not really have to worry about what I'm wearing underneath it. So yeah, that was everything that I knit in May. So June, I don't actually have either of the things that I finished because one of them was a gift knit and the other one I have frogged. So I first finished the Lily top by Iris of HIRIS Makes. I knit up size 1 and I decided to add long sleeves, and I was using some Sandnes Garn Sunday that I'd had in my stash for a while that I had originally knit up into an Oslo hat for my husband, and so I only had a very kind of like limited amount of it. I think I had just over 150 grams and I wanted to knit long sleeves into this top. So I essentially knit the yoke and then knit the sleeves and then just used what I had left to knit the body, and the body was just too short and I didn't wear it. So I have frogged it. And I think what I'm going to do is re-knit it, but I'm going to order some like really dark navy and knit it as a striped top. So still have a Lily top, but with stripes so that I do have enough yarn to make the body long enough to be able to actually wear it. And I think I will also go up a needle size because it was quite form-fitting, like, and it just didn't feel like it fitted well. I think it just had too much negative ease in it for like my preference. I do like a garment with negative ease, but I just feel like, especially on the arms, this one just didn't have enough movement in there, and it just felt like it was just too tight. So I think I would have to go up a needle size. I was kind of going on the needle size that I used for my first Lily top that I knit the previous year, and that was in a cotton merino blend, and I think it just grew a little bit more, so maybe that's why I feel like that one fitted a lot better than the one that I knit in 2025, but it's fine. I really do like the pattern, so I'm quite happy to knit it again. But hopefully this time it'll be a little bit more successful at staying as a knitted garment and not being refrogged. So that was my Lily top. And then the second thing that I finished in June was an Ollies Classic Crew by Hannah Graham. And I knit this as a gift for one of my husband's colleagues who was having a little boy. So I knit them a little blue jumper. I knit the baby size. I used a new yarn to me. It was Serdar Stories in the colour Cloud 9, which was, I think, a cotton acrylic blend. And yeah, as far as I know, it's gone down well. It was a really nice little baby knit. I definitely would recommend it if you are looking for a gift knit. It knits up relatively quickly. It was a DK weight pattern, so DK weight baby knit, generally very easy, and it has these nice little like folded details. It's almost like a sweatshirt, so it's very easy to kind of make everything very stretchy and easy to go over a baby's head. I think there might even be a cardigan version of this coming out fairly soon if you were not feeling all that confident about making something to go over a baby's head. But I do remember it came out quite big for a baby size, so I'm pretty sure that it was something that they were going to end up using when they were a little bit bigger anyway, and maybe a little bit more robust. But yeah, it worked out really nicely. It was a nice little, cute little gift. It was definitely very good for this time of year because we brought home a new puppy in May. He's not really a puppy now. He is enormous. He is a 30 kilogram fully grown, well, almost fully grown golden retriever. And yeah, so it was a busy time. I definitely needed things that were a little bit easier to knit, a little bit more kind of meditative. And I think this little jumper was definitely one of those things. So yeah, that is everything that I knit in June. In July, I started moving into having a little bit more time, not running around after the puppy quite so much. And so I started off July by finishing up my love letter top, which is here. So I was using some deep stash yarn to make this. The love letter top is a pattern by VERONIKA LINDBERG, and I once again knit up size 1. It's an all over lace design tank top, and I wore this to absolute death in the summer. I wore it all the time. It was definitely a real staple in my wardrobe. I used some drop spell that, like I say, I'd had hanging around in my stash for a really, really long time. And it was in the colour Rose Water. So it's this kind of like clay pink kind of colour. And it just was really easy to just chuck on with like a pair of linen trousers or my shorts or my jeans. And I can't see myself not wearing this summer. It's just too cold to wear it at the moment. So I would definitely make another one of these, maybe in a darker colour, just so that I would have another option. But yeah, I really, really love this. It was a great knit. It was really fun. It was really simple to follow the pattern despite there being so many charts. It's got these lovely little like I-cord details on the neck and the armhole. And then it's finished off with a little bit of twisted rib on the bottom. This did grow quite a lot, and so I did have to keep sort of running it through the wash to kind of keep its shape, but I kind of expected that with drop spell because it's what, like a linen viscose cotton blend or something like that. It's definitely a sort of more kind of drapey, floaty, less memory holding garment. There's no wool in there or anything, but it was just lovely to chuck on. It was very, very cool on a hot day. And yeah, it kind of made me feel put together on days when I just felt like I was melting. So yeah, really, really love my love letter top. And then the other thing that I finished in July was another like summer knit. And this was the Amelia top by Iris of HIRIS Makes. I had originally test knit this back in October of 2024. And so I decided to make another one. And I decided to make this one striped. And again, used some deep stash yarn. So this I knit up in Drops Cotton Merino in the colours Off-White and Mustard. And I remember having a massive issue with my yarn quantities with this because I had somehow managed to convince myself that I had ordered enough to make a white t-shirt with yellow stripes, when I had in fact ordered enough to make myself a yellow t-shirt with white stripes. And so got to the end of my ball of the Off-White and went upstairs to find my next ball and realised that I didn't have one. So I had to order some more yarn. But here is what my Amelia t-shirt looks like. Now, this has not had a huge amount of wear. I think because I finished it in July, it was, and this is a cotton merino blend, it then got really hot for the rest of the summer and I just didn't get a lot of wear out of it because it just felt like this was too hot. This is also a DK weight pattern. So I think I've learned that in like deep summer, if I am going to wear a cotton merino, then I'm going to lean more towards a fingering weight and therefore probably going to lean more towards my Lily top that I knit in 2024. But yeah, this did get a bit of wear in the autumn and I've been layering it over the winter. I've been chucking it on underneath one of my fleeces or underneath a cardigan or jumper. So yeah, I'm hoping that this is going to get a bit more wear in spring and maybe into like the early summer before it really heats up. So I guess time will tell if this does get a lot of wear because it's going to have to be something that I pick up more in 2026. But I really do like this pattern. It's a contiguous construction. So you're like knitting your sleeves at the same time as the body, but it's a set-in sleeve and not a raglan. And yeah, it's a really interesting construction. It's got quite a low yoke, which I always find quite concerning, but it doesn't sit too low on me. There's been a lot of attention to detail in the pattern for fit. And yeah, I do think that I will get some wear out of this year. It's just unfortunate that I finished it, I think, at the end of July and not earlier on in the year. So that is my Amelia top. And now moving into August, I didn't actually finish anything. So we're going to skip over that quickly and go on to September. So September, I knitted up my Lakes striped tee, which is a pattern by OZETTA, but I didn't knit this as a t-shirt. I knit this as a fingering weight jumper. I had intended to give myself a lot of positive ease in this, and I think this is where I started to really figure out how much ease I like in my jumpers, because I knit up size 3 in this, and I used woolly knit merino 4-ply in the colours Medula Green and Mulhaken, and I love the colour combination. I love the stripes. The pattern was really great. As with all OZETTA patterns, it's just written so well, and I do wear this a lot, but it doesn't have as much positive ease as I was hoping for. I do think that it's also kind of sprung back on itself quite a lot after I blocked it. And so that could be a factor. It could be that maybe my gauge wasn't as spot on as I thought it was. But yeah, I think if I was to knit this again and I was going to go for more of a long sleeved jumper effect, I would probably end up knitting maybe like size 5 or 6 instead of size 3 to give myself more positive ease. But nevertheless, I do wear this a lot. I wear it with, I both wear it on its own and layered. The yarn is just so soft. It's just so soft. It's lovely. I've worn this without anything underneath it, and I've also worn it as a layering piece, and it's just so lovely next to skin. And I do think that the colours fit in my wardrobe really, really well. I definitely wore this a lot back in the autumn, and I'm going to be getting a lot of wear out of this year as well. It does have a fair bit of pilling. I should probably say that. I haven't done anything to make my knits look nice for this video. I have left them exactly how they were in my wardrobe, and I thought it would be nice to kind of show how much wear these have actually sort of got and how the yarns have held up. So for the amount of wear, I think this is holding up pretty well. I mean, there is a bit of pilling on the underside of the sleeves, and I think there's a bit on the body as well, but actually really quite minimal for the amount that I wear this. I wear this a lot when I'm walking the dogs, and I usually go out with a jacket on, and I have a bum bag that I wear. So a lot of my knitwear does get a bit of wear kind of around the waistband because that's where that sits. And this is one that I have worn a lot to walk the dogs. So yeah, I think this amount of wear is definitely pretty minimal for the amount that I have worn it. I will be giving this a bit of a once over with the D-pillar, but I'm pretty impressed with how this yarn is holding up. So that is my Lake Stripe tee. I definitely recommend the pattern. It's really great. I do think I want to knit a t-shirt version in maybe Sanna's Garn Lena or something. I think that would be quite nice. But yeah, really, really enjoyed this. This does also have a long sleeve version in the pattern, which is what I knit up. I just knit it at a larger size than was recommended for my bust size. So that was everything in September. October, I knit my only test knit of the year, and this is the Edale Sweater by Iris of HIRIS Makes. This is now available. I knit up size 1, and I used Filcolana Saga in the colour Charcoal and Filcolana Alva in the colour Dark Grey. That might be the other way around actually. But either way, I used those two yarns held together in this dark grey colour. So I've got a really nice marl because one of them was slightly lighter than the other. And this is a mock neck raglan jumper with these wide rib panels that come from the collar. So you start at the collar with the tubular neckband and then knit down and start increasing for your sleeves, which are then in stockinette, but then they have this rib panel on the inside of the sleeve, and that then continues down into the body, and it's got a split hem. I made mine quite a lot longer than the pattern recommended so that I could have a like really long split hem and I could wear it with leggings and things. And I do get a lot of wear out of this. I wear this all the time. It's really nice and warm and cozy. The yarns are really lovely together. I love a bit of a lamb's wool and alpaca blend. So this has got loads of drape as well, and it's very lightweight. I was sewing a couple like last week, and so there is just thread everywhere because even though I've run the hoof around, it's still there. But yeah, the pattern is written really, really well. As with all of Iris's patterns, it's written with fit in mind, being, well, like with the idea in mind to give you the best fit possible for your body measurements. And yeah, I just really, really like this and I wear it a lot. So that was a real success. So that was everything that I finished in October. November, I broke my finger in November. So that was a kind of sort of slow month where it came to knitting because I did find it a little bit difficult to knit for a little while. So I didn't actually finish any garments in November. I did start one though, and I finished it in December. So December was like my most productive month when it came to garments. I really like found my groove again after the old finger break. And I knit 3 garments in December. So the first garment that I finished in December was my Peatlands sweater. This is a pattern by CHERYL MOKHTARI, and it's a colourwork yoke sweater, a round yoke, and I knit up size 1. I used River-Knit's Chimera in the colour Rainforest and Telling Yarns Steadfast in the colour Rosehip, and Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in the colour Pea Shoots. And this is possibly one of my favourite jumpers at the moment. It might be because we are currently in January, so I only finished this last month, but I have worn this pretty much constantly for the past couple of weeks. I absolutely love this. So I used the River Knits for the top half of the yoke, and then the Telling Yarns is my contrast, and then Pea Shoots is what I used for the rest of the body. And the fit of this jumper is just everything that I want in a jumper. It's got more positive ease than a lot of the other things that I have knit, and I think this is kind of my sweet spot. This is definitely a fit that I really, really like. I added in the optional short rows on this. I made a conscious decision to change the neckband because I know now that like single ribbed neckbands just are not my jam. I really, really like a folded neckband. So I started with the colourwork and then I went back and picked up stitches and I knitted on the folded neckband, and it's just given it so much structure and just allowed the neckband to stay a little bit tighter. I know that I don't really like a particularly wide neckband. And yeah, I just absolutely love this jumper. It's so warm and cozy, but so soft. And yeah, I just can't fault it. I really, really love the colourwork motif. I love the colours that I've used. I know that the yoke could look a little bit muddy, but actually I think it works really, really well because the River Knits is a colour changing yarn. But yeah, I just really, really love this jumper and I would definitely reknit the pattern. It was a really easy to follow pattern, and yeah, I just can't sing its praises enough. It's holding up really, really well. Although I only finished it in December, I have, like I say, worn it a lot, and it has taken quite a lot of sort of wear through the fact that it's been like worn underneath my coats. I have worn it to walk the dogs most of the time. I wore this to take the Christmas tree down, which is always quite abusive on my jumpers. I feel like our Christmas tree has got it in for me. It doesn't like being taken down, and so it just attacks me every year that I do it. But yeah, so this has definitely taken a lot of wear and is just not really showing very much sign of wear at all. There's a little bit, I think I saw a little bit of pilling in the yoke, but the rest of it is pretty much pristine still, although covered in golden retriever hair, which is kind of just the story of my life nowadays. So yeah, I absolutely love this. Definitely would knit again. And then the last 2 garments that I finished in December are both very, very similar. So the first one is what I'm wearing. This is the Stripe Overload Cardi by SPEKTAKELSTRIK. I knit this up in size 1 and I used yarn from the Great Gingham Raglan that I was knitting and then frogged when I got to the neckband because I decided I didn't like the fit. So that was the Yarbow 2TR Ull, and I held it with Fiberspace Cumulus. And this is another one that I absolutely love. I wear this a lot. So I didn't finish this until the last couple of days of December, but I basically had this and my Peatlands sweater on repeat since then for the last couple of weeks. And I just love them. And again, this one has the same like amount of positive ease in it as my Peatlands sweater. It's that sweet spot of positive ease that I really, really like at the moment. And I really love the collar on this. I think it just makes it a little bit more interesting than just a plain striped cardigan. The yarn is so soft, but also really, really warm. And this is the project where I really decided that actually, you know what? Mohair is just not for me, and I wanted to find something that I could wear next to skin. So I used the Fiberspace Cumulus originally to make myself a pair of fingerless mittens, and finding that they didn't make me itch at all is what made me then decide to knit up this pattern, because I already had the Yarbow yarn and I needed something to hold with it. But yeah, I've just got a t-shirt on underneath this today, and honestly I don't feel itchy at all. And I've worn this like underneath my coat, gotten really hot in it, and it's not caused a problem. So yeah, it's just a really lovely, warm, super soft, super drapey cardigan, and I just absolutely love it. I love my button choices. I've got the Cherry Bomb buttons by Pigeon Wishes on this. I love a Pigeon Wishes button. They are my favourite button brand. And yeah, I just really, really love this cardigan. It's just so cozy, and I think I'm going to get a lot of wear out of it into spring as well. It's very, very drapey, and I think it's going to be something that's going to be really easy to just chuck on as an extra layer, and it's not very heavy, so I think it's going to be easy to like chuck in a bag for days when you don't necessarily need the jumper when you go out, but you might need it later. So yeah, this was a real success, and I'm so glad that I pivoted like when I was 99% of the way through the project that I originally bought the yarn for and made this instead. So then the last thing that I finished in 2025 was a matching stripe overload cardi for my daughter. So this is what it looks like. I knit this one up in Cascade 220 in the colours Ruby Red and Tutu, or maybe it's just Ruby and Tutu. Yeah, Ruby and Tutu. And I used the leftover buttons from my cardigan so that it matches completely. And I did pattern hack this from the Stripe Overload Polo Kid into a cardigan. And I think it worked out really, really well. She wears this a lot. So I finished this literally on the last day of 2025. I finished it on the 31st of December. And she has thrown this on over the top of her pajamas in the morning, like almost like a dressing gown. She wears this with all of her dresses. She's worn it with leggings, jeans. The day that I pulled it off the blocking mat and sewed the buttons on, she wore it to the pub for a little pub lunch with us. And I wore mine as well, and we got to wear our matching cardigans. She wore it to ballet. She didn't take it off in the middle of her ballet lesson, and was showing it off to her teacher. She's just so chuffed with this. And yeah, I absolutely love it. I lengthened the body a little bit so that she'd have a bit of growing room in there because she's got a long torso like I do. And yeah, she just absolutely loves this. So I'm so glad that I managed to make her a matching version. She has told me that we are in our matching era. So I'm very happy about that. And yeah, I think I'll be making some more matching knits for us in 2026. So yeah, it was a really successful end of the year, I think. The last couple of garments that I made have definitely been real staples in our wardrobes. And yeah, I'm really enjoying making things for my daughter again. She kind of went through a phase where she wasn't really into wearing cardigans and jumpers and things that I'd made for her, but now she's kind of come back into it, and I'm very, very excited for that to continue into 2026. So that was everything that I made in 2025. There's definitely been some hits and misses throughout the year. Like I say, there've been some things that I have frogged, and yeah, things that I maybe don't wear as much. But I think most of it has gone down really well and has been worn a lot over the past year. So yeah, If this is the first video of mine that you're watching and you have enjoyed seeing the things that I've knitted previously and you want to see the things that I knit in 2026, then please do consider subscribing. If you've liked this video, please feel free to give it a like. I don't like having to say that, but I feel like it's one of those things that you should say nowadays because otherwise you get lost in the YouTube algorithm. And yeah, I will catch up with you all in my next video. Happy making!